locations, weapon and armor shop contents, enemy locations, and enemy spells and abilities, plus the order of spells learned, though they're guaranteed to learn all 10 spells by level 16. So the king is given the instructions, and we're going to see what the 3 items are in the throne room. We've got bucks, we've got wings, and we've got the obligatory magic key, which they're going to use those wings to hold onto the key, and they can use that to access the treasury more than likely. But first, they're probably going to head on up to open the other door to get the shop to access more magic keys so they can open more doors since they have the money to be able to do so.
And WMD making a critical error here, showing his new player status, not wingsing out of the throne room in order to take the key and the gold and do what Mr. Holmes is doing right now, which is fully stock his keys right out of the gate. We're going to get a treasury check early, and we're going to get a basement check early.
But first, we've got to get this guard out of the way. All right, so we have an herb. We have some more big bucks. We have the death necklace. And we have a magic key to replace the one that was in there.
Also have stop spell at level 2 learned on WMD's side.
And now to the venturing and grinding here as WMD, well, struggling a little bit as he's trying to get back to the castle, although this is where a challenge comes in. There's no way to heal, so he is going to take a death and lose half of the gold that he had established from the throne room. Able to get away from the Magidrakey, Mr. Holmes running through, and, well, as Game Boy F9 notes in chat, not a swamp seed, but close, as they do look to be swamp locked for a moment here.
Yeah, so it's looking like the losing half of the gold on WMD's side not going to be as bad as it could normally be, as we have no nearby town and we have a mandatory 6-tile swamp to walk through, so with no town in sight so far on the other side of the swamp, so not too big of a deal losing that gold.
But not so much the Demon Knight, which has the breath. Doing between 16 and 24 hit points of damage, I believe.
And that is the male goof-off on Mr. Holmes' side, right?
That is correct, and not goofing around is the skeleton who has breath, which can do anywhere between 64 and 72 hit points of damage. And given that our player's max is 16, yeah, needless to say, they get roasted. Magidrakey's with her.
Go ahead.
And Mr. Holmes back in to replenish keys and is heading down to the basement. And Shyline 9, we've got Mr. Holmes is using the goof-off sprite from Dragon Warrior 3, I believe that is. And we've got the token. Erdrick's token in the basement in the Vanilla Stones of Sunlight Cave in its vanilla location, oddly enough. But the Erdrick's token is one of the key items that are needed to access the Dragon Lord.
And for anybody in chat wondering, Mr. Holmes' name, Goof-Off, is indeed Strength HP as well. So both players will be on Strength HP today. And it looked like level 3 brought Radiant, if I saw that correct.
Moment here is Mr. Holmes using that herb that he had acquired from the treasury. Oh, but not another Geist.
And it looks like WMD is just trying to find a little nook where he can get some more gentle enemies to fight. Pretty notable that we don't have a desert nearby the starting castle. as it would have a slightly higher encounter. Well, it would have the optimal encounter rate right now. But we mostly have plains, which is the lowest encounter rate, and just that very tiny patch of forest up there that has a slightly higher encounter rate than the plains.
Well, WMD taking out a Magidrakey. Ooh, but getting roasted once again by the skeleton. So for a speed hack, we've got a slow grind going here in the early part of the game.
Yeah, that seems to be thanks to that swamp over there and the fact that there isn't very much in the immediate couple screens beyond it. So we're going to probably either want to see some healing magic or maybe a level up with a fat like 20 HP gain or so in order to get past the swamp and then have the gas to go that little bit further to maybe find the first town or the first cave.
Well, level 4 certainly is not that fat level, as the stat gains of 2 strength, 3 response speed, I believe it was 1 hit point and 1 magic point. As Mr. Holmes now getting it here, yep, 2, 3, 1. That is one of the runners in the community, an Empty Eye level, as Empty Eye loves seeing those zeros and very low gains.
And Demon Knights with Baby Breath, that's going to be quite awful for our runners this early on when we cross that swamp, as we are pretty lacking in any ability to properly combat or run away from a Demon Knight. So they're going to hit hard, and they have Baby Breath, which is all but lethal for our runners at this point.
So as there's a little bit of a break in the action here, we'll tell you a little bit about both of our runners. As Mr. Holmes, we mentioned, he won the inaugural 2016 Dragon Warrior Randomizer tournament. He finished in second place last year. He's the top SRL ranked player in Dragon Warrior Randomizer. Also plays a good amount of NES golf and has showcased that on quite a few occasions. As Mr. Holmes taking another death to the Dragon Lord Breath skeleton. WMD88, meanwhile, only started playing Dragon Warrior Randomizer a few weeks ago, but has seen all the tournaments and was watching Ness Cardinality speedrun the vanilla game before there was manipulation, as he is one of the very few in what is known as the Sub-6 Club, as he has beaten the vanilla version of Dragon Warrior in 5 hours and 57 minutes in that non-manipulation category, and it was a long time coming. When he's not playing Dragon Warrior, he mostly plays NES Tetris, where he has a high score of just over 627,000 points, which is quite a lot, and won the tournament at SGDQ 2018 just about a month ago. So Wolf Lord taking out WMD, and WMD with the experience lead here, at least a little bit of one.
Yeah, definitely helped by that Magidrakey that he took down early, sitting at just 16 EXP from level 5, and right now EXP is the name of the game, as it's not very safe to try to explore past that swamp at the moment. So getting to 5 first could be what opens up the entire seed, as we see quite a
there
level.
it is.
And the heal.
Big gains and then some.
Yeah, so WMD now probably going to feel a little bit more comfortable poking his head over to the other side of that swamp and traveling north.
The only drawback is if there's a particular... Well, he made his way this way before and ran into a particular enemy. Yes, Game Boy F9. Yeah, big bucks and no whammies, trying to avoid some of those whammy-type enemies, and is able to get away from a Druid Lord and finds a cave, which is the Staff of Rain Cave. So our runners are going to be looking for the Silver Harp in one of the treasure chests, and they will trade in that harp to that gentleman in the cave to acquire the Staff of Rain, one of the 3 items that are needed to get the Rainbow Drop to enter the Dragon Lord's castle.
Nothing too great to find super early on, as we don't have the harp yet, but you need to know where that cave is for later. Probably would have liked to see something like even tablet at this point. Getting something like a dragon scale or a fighter's ring could even help out, let alone if you actually find the big stick itself, Erdrick's sword.
Well, that would be ideal. Edric's sword, the best weapon in the game, as now Mr. Holmes getting up to level 5.
And we see Sharlock on WMD's side, but very notable, and I'm not sure if he caught it. Just north of Sharlock, on a little corner of land right on the back side up there, is a town.
I think he might have caught it there, but I couldn't tell if he had to take the long way around to get there, as well. That is going to be a really long way around.
Yeah, is going north from Sharlock blocked off? I might have missed that. He definitely checked the back route from Sharlock and noticed that that was definitely cut off, but maybe going slightly like northeast and loop around, possibly?
Ooh, and a wolf taking out WMD. Mr. Holmes, meanwhile, looking to farm right in that forest area there.
And it looks like we have Mr. Holmes opting to grind for level 6 instead of going and trying to push a little bit of exploration at level 5.
He brazenly was going after the skeleton, but ends up getting the Dragon Lord breath. As WMD heading back now. And heading to the northwest, so maybe perhaps not seeing the town, or I couldn't quite tell if above Sherlock, if there was a way to access that town, but the Stone Man will not give us the opportunity to find out right now.
And do we have an issue on Mr. Holmes' side? Nope, just a little bit of stream chopping up there.
Yeah, for a minute I thought we were going to get the Trolltergeist. I'll see myself out now.
And it does look like we have temporarily lost Mr. Holmes' stream. We'll get that back for you as soon as we can.
It did make for an interesting effect. So meanwhile, WMD looking to stick around here, and as he's trekking, at least one-shot the Drakies, which you think, 3 experience, not that big of a deal, but every little bit helps, especially as he's trying to make his way over. And we'll see about the Scorpion here. He's able to 2-shot that for another 16, so now just 13 experience away from level 6. And opting not to tussle with the Gold Man.
And Golems. Golems are going to be a quick trip back to start at this stage of the seed.
Most definitely. So as we await Mr. Holmes' technical issues to be taken care of, that'll actually give me a chance to let you know about a rematch due to some technical issues that had occurred yesterday evening. So coming up at 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. That's right, a morning race, something you don't normally see. It's going to be the friendly scheduled rematch based on the technical issues between Z-Man 050778 and Sparkover. And Sparkover in chat, yes, this is relevant to you.
And we have Mr. Holmes back, notably at level 6. Doesn't look like there was any additional magic learned at level 6. And looking at the stats at the bottom of our screen, It looks like it was 10 strength, 1 agility, 6 HP, 10 MP. So not too bad early on since we do have the early heal spell. Could help out a little bit with exploration, and we did see that he was in combat with a wolf that had a pretty respectable chance to cast Hurt on him.
Well, meanwhile, Mr. Holmes utilizing that stop spell learned in level 2 on the Druid Lord, which has the sleep spell.
And we have our potential first town, Rimmledar.
Which, considering that Mr. Holmes already has a maxed out amount of keys, not quite as exciting as it usually would be, but we get to find out what one of the treasure chest items are, and it's going to be fairy water.
So nothing of value gained, and yeah, as you mentioned, this find's not as critical for Mr. Holmes as it could have been early on. If it was something like Garenham or Cole, perhaps, as he did properly execute his early game key wings combo in order to max out his keys very early. However, this find is very, very important for WMD, who was just only like one screen away at the edge of that swamp there from actually getting across and getting to Rimmledar, as we did see WMD not wings out and ended up burning his only key early. So that will be his source of keys to open up the treasury and to get a little bit more information into the seed.
And now Mr. Holmes with that power boost able to take on enemies like a Warlock. Not so much a Stone Man, as that's going to take him out here. WMD, meanwhile, working on a Droll and taking him out, and that's going to get him to level 6. Meanwhile, Mr. Holmes not able to shop for a whole lot in Rimmledar, but was able to buy the clothes, so that's going to add 2 defense points to his total.
Alright, this is big. We've got WMD coming back up towards that swamp that if he crosses it, he will find Rimmledar and get access to keys.
Oh, and a nice critical hit on the part of WMD. That's going to get him a nice 58 experience gain. Get him closer to level 7, although this enemy here is going to put Mr. Holmes at level 7. 22 power, wow, and 14 magic points.
And a couple additional utility spells, it looked like. I think I saw Outside and Sleep for sure, and I believe that might have been Repel at the bottom?
I believe that was Return at the bottom.
They are in fact... Yep, it is Return. They are in fact next to each other. I fat-fingered Return instead of Repel in my race. That felt pretty bad, but... Alright, yep, couple nice little travel utility spells for Mr. Holmes here.
And up G noting the Wombo combo of Sleep and Hurt more from the Red Dragon, as if they weren't fun policey enough. So Mr. Holmes navigating through quite a bit of swamp.
Was there gold in the treasury? Do we have a gold grind available at all?
There was, yes. In the bottom left chest.
Alright, so gold grind is definitely on the table for this seed.
Which we'll get into more a little bit later, but it has to do with taking advantage of a little bit of glitch in terms of the game's memory to be able to take a treasure chest over and over again.
And that's going to be useful for picking up the ever-coveted Silver Shield, whose price generally will put it out of range for normal play if you don't have access to the gold grind.
Yeah, 14,800 gold is quite a bit, considering that our runners have, I don't even think they've gotten into 4 digits, as now going up to level 7 is WMD, as we are just before the 20-minute mark here in this race.
And level 7 was indeed Outside, Return, and Sleep.
So a trifecta of spells, and yeah, the hit points a little on the low side for level 7, as pointed out by Z-Man in chat.
And as we did that pretty extravagant opener regarding the potential speed of this race, this is looking kind of resemblant of the Angry Larry race, where just there was no HP to be had for an extensive amount of levels, and that's about the only thing that you can realistically expect to push a speed hack fast tech seed up towards that 1 hour mark, is a real tough early game seed like we have here.
Yeah, we are 21 minutes in, both of our runners at level 7. I would say Mr. Holmes with a slight lead thanks to a bit of inexperience on WMD's part. In the throne room, we did have a set of wings as well as some gold in the magic key, and WMD using the magic key and holding on to the wings as opposed to vice versa to be able to hang on to that key. So WMD not able to access Tanagel's treasury or the back of Tanagel.
And as we know, the basement of Tantagel has the vanilla token.
However, Mr. Holmes getting slept and wrecked, and he's been trying to make that same path, perhaps back to Rimmildar, or to do a little bit more exploration, but every time that he does, he seems to run into some sort of an enemy that just sends him right on back, whether it's a Druid Lord who's getting him slept and wrecked, or a Stone Man, just as WMD has run into, as now at level 8. Oh, we have
Hurtmore
there.
Pretty sure that was Hurtmore.
So it looks like, what, Hurt and Hurtmore at level 8?
And the Hurtmore is going to be absolutely massive, as you see Mr. Holmes starting to absolutely tear through those mid to higher tier enemies like the Wraith Knight and the Wolfman. And, yep, as we noted earlier, we weren't sure if WMD had checked just north of Sherlock. Turns out it's not blocked, and we've got Motel 6 leaving the torch on for you.
Yes, we have 6 Town. Breckenary is the actual name of the town, although because of the 6 gold, the cheapest in there, that making it rather palatable, although, as Z-Man noting in chat, I'll do my best impression. Oh, look, Breckenary.
Let me put my excited face on. I think we might be dealing with 2 of the only commentators who actually like Breckenary.
And here I thought I was the only one, as now Mr. Holmes is in the grave of Garanham, so there are 5 treasure chests in here. The first 3 accessible without a key, and we've got an herb, we've got the Stones of Sunlight, and we've got the Fighter's Ring. So the Stones of Sunlight, that is one of the key items needed as far as accessing the Rainbow Drop, and the Fighter's Ring, which Mr. Holmes has put on, that adds an additional 2 attack power to his total. And the herb, well, that heals about 30 hit points.
Yeah, and this makes you feel even more for WMD. 1 screen further north, he would find Breckenary and this cave. 1 screen further west, and he would find Rimmildar, to right the wrong of missing that early game key opportunity that he had access to. So just getting stopped by the monsters ever so close to important things.
wow. So that means, well, we've got level 9 coming Mr. Holmes' way here. And another spell. Which next time he goes into the inventory, we'll be able to see what it is. I believe it was Repel. But again, you blink, you miss a lot of things here with the fast text and speed hacks. And some big bucks on the part of Mr. Holmes deep into the grave.
Does he not remember? Oh, is he setting up a gold grind for the magic armor?
Absolutely.
Okay. I like this play. He knows that magic armor is in Breckenary. I don't believe we've spotted the Silver Shield, although we've only seen 2 towns so far. Actually, no, it looks like he's walking out of the cave. So maybe forgetting that he actually has access to outside? Because the town's right there. There's no reason to not outside here if you're going to leave.
No, I think he's taking the long path here just to potentially run into an enemy that's going to get him wrecked as he runs into... Oh, yeah, there's the snowman that's going to do it, but not after getting that metal slime. So now, because of the 5 chests that were open in the cave not being reset because he hasn't gone to the overworld, plus the 3 in the throne room... Now, any of the chests that are in here, he can open over and over again, and he is doing just that.
Alright, so it's going to be curious to see where he takes this to. We obviously know minimums of 7,700 for sure because of magic armor. I don't know if we've spotted Flame Sword or Silver Shield, or if he's maybe just going to pick up, like, Broadsword and Large Shield if he's seen them along the way.
Well, I know there was a broadsword in Brecken areas that was just underneath the copper sword which he had purchased.
I don't know. This is looking like we might have missed a Silver Shield over in Rimmeldar, as we're going north of 20k real quick here, and you don't want to grind this if you don't have a use for it, as it just puts additional exploration stress on you, knowing that you don't want to die carrying around this motherload of gold. And at this rate, we might have also missed a flame sword in Breckenary.
It looks like he is going for pretty much all the best equipment money can buy, as WMD now making it to Rimmeldar.
Alright, so we're finally going to have keys for WMD if he remembers to go up and buy them, and that should be his first priority here, but we will get that shop check. And indeed, there is the flame sword and the silver shield. So Mr. Holmes did catch those on his trip to Rimmeldar, went for the full Monty of 32,300 so that he can acquire flame sword, magic armor, silver shield, the absolute best gear that money can buy.
And WMD, oh wow, did I see that right? Did he purchase the hand axe with the money and opted not to get the keys?
Yeah, maybe he's got like a plan to, like, he killed a specter. That's a key right there. So perhaps looking to maybe like grind out 9 right here if the enemies are slightly friendlier since he's next to a town, and then buy his keys after the fact. I mean, I very, very much hope that that's what his game plan is. Ooh! And we see green dragons bringing out the big breath.
Oh wow, 18 hit points at level 10 for Mr. Holmes.
Yeah, Centroid making a point in chat. He might have thought that 53 gold was easier to recoup quickly than the 560 for the hand axe.
As now going up to level 9 is WMD. And Mr. Holmes, after having purchased the magic armor in Brecconary, is going to go and get the silver shield as well as the flame sword. So the second best weapon in the game, adding 28 attack power to the base strength, as well as the best armor, or the second best armor in the game, I should say, adding 24 defense, and the best shield in the game, adding another 20.
And just like that, with a defense power of 75, Mr. Holmes is pretty much going to be defense breaking every single enemy that is not in Sherlock, that is not native to Sherlock, rather.
But the Green Dragon is not one of them, and that sends Mr. Holmes back.
Additionally, the Green Dragon wouldn't care too much anyways, as we did see the Big Breath, and that unfortunately is not resisted by the magic armor. Magic armor only reducing the damage of the Hurt and Hurt More spells, whereas the Erdrick's armor that we will be looking for to properly take on the Dragon Lord does in fact come with breath resistance as well.
Which, let's talk a little bit about the Erdrick's armor, because with already finding the Fairy Flute, which can either be in a search spot or a chest, as well as Erdrick's token, which was in a chest that can either be in a search spot or a chest, that means there's a 1 in 3 shot of finding it in the location that you're looking for, as WMD getting up to level 10. So the search spot in either the town of Cole, the town of Hawksnest, or the overworld spot, only one of those 3 will have something. And we'll find out here as Mr. Holmes is in Hawksnest.
And to go off of Wandering Keeper and Z-Man there, the Erdrick stuff is still very much wanted, but we have decent gear. The Erdrick's armor is absolutely required. Without it, you're taking 70 plus damage to the Dragon Lord's Fire Breath, and you will never actually be able to successfully kill the Dragon Lord in the randomizer, given that we are not grinding to levels like 25 or higher.
Well, and that's interesting, and speaking of grinding, the Hawksnest Guardian is the Axe Knight, one of the easier enemies to grind if you have Hurt More, as more than half the time you're able to one-shot it with a spell of Hurt More. And Mr. Holmes, finding nothing in the search spot, decided to grind up to level 11, and then decided, we'll come back out here. We'll come back there if need be later.
And have we seen Mountain Cave? Is that looking to be where Harp is?
Well, as far as the yet-to-be-open treasure chests, we have the one that's in the Tablet Cave, we have the 3 that are locked behind the door in the town of Garenham, and we have the 5 in the Mountain Cave. So there's a 1 in 9 chance that one of those is the Silver Harp.
And Wandering Keeper, we're down to 2 possible locations for the armor. It must either be in the Cole search spot or in the Overworld search spot, as it cannot be in a treasure chest. Notable is that we have not found Cantlin, so we do not have coordinates, and we have not found Cole, so we do not, in fact, know whether it's Cole or Overworld yet, or whether those coordinates will even be required, as one of those 2 will, in fact, be empty, as we already have the token and the flute.
So WMD opting to grind right here outside of the town, and getting a pretty decent job, all things considered.
Well, he's got enough money for 6 keys at this point. I don't know what else was inside of Rimmildar there on the lower end. We definitely saw the higher end, as Mr. Holmes made very short work of purchasing all of that.
Well, we've got the Swamp Cave North and the Guardian of a Blue Dragon.
Ooh, but a Blue Dragon with Hurt, that's quite attractive of a grind spot to go along with that Axe Knight.
2 to 11 and 24.
Yeah, definitely agreeing with Z-Man and Chet. Easy Blue Dragons. Generally, you're going to take that Hawksness grind spot 100% of the time. Axe Knight has proven to be twice as popular of a grind spot when it's on a spike tile as the second most popular grind thus far in the tournament. But Blue Dragons are definitely worth a little bit more. They're usually not too much of an increase in time requirement, but when they are looking pretty likely to cast just vanilla hurt, they might actually be the superior gun spot this seed. And yes, we do not quite get our GPS as an AK-47, the Armored Knight, had some words from Mr. Holmes trying to walk out of there with Quaylen.
Ooh, and a critical hit, an excellent move by Mr. Holmes, able to take out that Stone Man, so that'll help get him another 155 experience. Already about 700 or so away from level 13, so this is where the level's starting to come up quickly and fervently here. As WMD already close to halfway to level 12. As somewhere along the way I missed him getting to level 11. That's just how quickly things are going now that the offense is there, the spells are there.
And notable is that Mr. Holmes is only maybe 4 big ticket enemies away from getting level 13. And our stats are already shaping up to be quite nice, given that it's not very hard to get to 15 or 16, and we've got green strength and orange everything else. This could be a level 15 flame sword kill once we find the armor.
Yeah, these statistics, especially in strength, are rather beefy at level 12 with 90 strength, plus that flame sword in the fighter's ring. That's where he's up to 120, which is generally pretty close. And Mr. Holmes checking his statistics as he sees the Rainbow Drop Cave, known also as the Jerk Cave, because if you don't have the Erdrick's token, he'll kick you out of the cave.
And this is going to be Tablet or Mountain? What do we got? Tablet.
Tablet Cave.
So, nice, no encounter, quick little maze to run through. If the harp is here, that's absolutely huge, because that tells Mr. Holmes he does not need to find Mountain Cave at all. He will have everything he needs except the armor, and the armor cannot be in a cave, so that information will make it a lot easier. Alas, we do not see the harp here, so we are down to the town of Garenham, or the Mountain Cave, and we haven't seen the second continent yet, so second continent could be in play for just 1 or 2 things that we need for go mode.
Well, unless there's some sort of a loop here as far as the Swamp Cave, where it just kind of loops within itself and doesn't really go that far otherwise, I believe that the Mountain Cave then would be... Oh goodness, would be in the back of Garenham?
I'm going to call that Swamp is going to back of Garenham. Ooh, alright. I'm wrong. I'll take that.
And chat being very noted to WMD saying, go buy keys.
And this is either going to be Cole or Cantlin, and both of those are relevant for us. Cantlin, so we're going to get a coordinates check here, and that's going to tell us whether we need to find Cole, or whether we need to go save the princess and find the overworld item. Or maybe not save the princess if it's pretty friendly coordinates.
And Mr. Holmes out of herbs and no heal more to cast, so might have to... Oh, we have coordinates 65 north and 71 east. So we know that coal is not needed.
And we definitely have a feeling that we're going to be seeing some Gwaelin positioning system coming up here. Though, Props to Mr. Holmes. It looks like he might be attempting to count this out without rescuing Gwaylin, as he is kind of taking his steps a little bit slowly, so that definitely signals to me that he's counting this out.
Yeah, Mr. Holmes is probably one of the more proficient coordinate counters, pretty much trying to avoid Gwaylin as much as possible, as now up to level 12 goes WMD.
Yeah, so the big thing here while Mr. Holmes is counting, as it doesn't look like we're going in the direction of any town unless we happen to find coal way out in the middle of nowhere over here, is just going to be like, how much does he go through this swamp? He could have elected to take a slightly different route to lose less health to this swamp, considering that he's not going to be able to stop and get his magic back most likely on this trek. So preserving every little bit of health and magic that he can could decide between successfully getting to the end of these coordinates, since we've got quite a hike on our hands, or getting ambushed by a dragon or an armored knight or a golem at some point and just being sent back to start. And there haven't been any notable landmarks yet to kind of count to, so I don't know how much he's able to take a quick note of a landmark location that he can come back to and start counting from later if he does get sent back.
And WMD now accessing the treasury.
And he's heading down to the basement, so he will finally acquire his token. I agree, Glitchtart. The double land bridge has probably been his best idea so far as to landmarks, along with these two tiny little one-tile swamps. Oh,
He found it!
He does successfully count it out right next to Garenham, of all places. And this could be huge. If the harp is here, this could pretty much just about borderline end the race right as we speak. As that would be huge, getting the armor and the harp back to back within seconds of each other.
Well, he's stocked up on herbs, perhaps thinking that, maybe it'll be needed, who knows, and now he's selling a fairy water and is going to purchase a dragon scale, as he hasn't gotten one as of yet.
And actually, it just crossed my mind, no matter what, he gets harp here. Because the only cave we haven't found is Mountain, which has to be the basement of Garenham. So 100% he gets harp here. That's actually insane, because it means that getting the coordinates to Cantlin and then coming to Garenham pretty much ends your seed, but we see him walking away. Oh, he might not have a key left. That's
he is out
tragic.
of magic keys.
That's a big mistake. You always, once you have access to keys, you want to hold on to that last key for dear life. You never ever want to run out of your last key.
Well, in this case, it doesn't hurt too terribly, as Rimmildar isn't too far from the start.
That is true. Rimmildar is fairly close to the start, and everything is concentrated on one continent. So it's not too terribly punishing.
As you can see, already pretty close to making his way back there, is WMD, meanwhile, trying to explore and grind a little bit, and is about 1,150 behind Mr. Holmes, who falls to a red dragon.
And Cantlin was on the second continent. That's the only thing of note on the second continent, right?
As far as I can recall.
That is one heck of a trolley seed there, too. Needing to go through Swamp Cave just to find a single town to get your coordinates so that you can find the armor.
Oh, and our restreamer and tracker, Wolfman 2000, noted we haven't seen Cole as of yet, so that could all happen.
Yes, but coal is 100% not required for the seed to be completed. So it's not too big of a deal.
I think he was just referencing that the only continent wouldn't be Canada. That it very well could also be.
Yeah, I just meant the only thing of note that we need for actual completion of the seed. And we do see Mr. Holmes heading back to Rimeldar.
Finding and it. And chat noting that yeah, nightmare fuel going on here in terms of the red dragons.
Well, Fun Police living up to their name and their reputation.
And WMD getting slept and wrecked by the red dragon.
Alright, so now all we need to see from Mr. Holmes is him to walk back to Garanham. Garanham's guaranteed to have the Silver Harp at this point, considering that it's also going to be housing the Mountain Cave in its basement. Sword could still be in Sharlock, but as we're very rapidly seeing, that sword is looking more optional than required this seed.
Indeed, so Holmes making the trek and just swatting at a scorpion because why not?
Mr. Holmes here actually could be looking at possibly even a 14 go. He's only maybe 2 or 3 attacks off of getting it right now. Good MP, good attack power. If he gets the sword here, or swords in Treasury in Sharlock, and he picks it up there, you know, that extra attack power pretty much just about seals the deal.
And I think a bit of a missed menuing there is he accidentally gave up the Silver Harp with a full inventory. So now having to go utilize another key to get back in, although since there was a magic key there, not too much harm done.
And he did get a small handful of keys when he was back in Rimeldar. Now, will we see him go down to the cave? Yes, so he is looking for the sword.
Figure why not? You're already here. It's not too difficult to search.
Oh,
you can
God,
grind
we
on
even
some
have
enemies along the way to get
AKs.
even stronger.
Yeah, we have AKs and Star Wyverns here, so this is absolutely wonderful. You could easily get 14. He's only 500 experience away from it. Get your sword, and then you're just outside Return and a short walk to Sharlock, and you're ready to go.
Except for the spell of Heal More.
Oh, God. I've missed the fact that we don't have Heal More yet. So if Heal More's at 14, we can go at 14. Otherwise, we're probably going to see Mr. Holmes head to Hawksness, most likely, and just grind his way to Heal More.
So we had a magic key and an empty chest and some gold, so I believe that was an herb.
It's starting to look a little bit more likely that sword might actually be in Sharlock.
And here comes 14. 2162, no spell. So 15 is going to be guaranteed here.
His stats only getting better. So even if the sword is in Sharlock, we could see a situation where Mr. Holmes has more than enough stats to beat the game, dives into Sharlock to actually finish the game, And, well, I was going to say just picks up the sword and treasury, but we have it now, so let's just forget about that. We are just heal more away from Mr. Holmes being able to finish this game.
And you see already an attack power of 143 at level 14.
Yeah, and borderlining 12 heal mores and 120 HP. The only reason he can't go right now is because we lack the heal more spell that's required to sustain through the Dragon Lord fight. And I guess the fact that he has to go run his last two errands of getting the Staff of Rain and the Jerk Cave. Jerk, notably, a decent trek away, but not too bad for somebody who has the stats that Mr. Holmes is walking around right now.
Indeed, and for those of you just joining us, yes, the speed hacks and fast text were mutually agreed upon by both runners, and, well, that is allowing the seed to go even quicker than usual here, although it was a bit of a slow, sluggish start to get things going here, but once the majority of the spells were acquired in the mid-levels, levels 7, 8, and 9, things really got off the ground. Although it wasn't until level 5 with heal that things got really well.
Yeah, 5 with heal allowed a little bit more poking around for exploration, and then hurt more at 8 opened the seed wide up. EXP started coming in much more rapidly, and it just took off from there. And everything pretty much has been concentrated on the first continent. The only thing needing to go to the second continent through the Swamp Cave is Cantlin to get your coordinates, because coordinates held Erdrick's armor.
And while I'm not surprised, it still just impresses me that Mr. Holmes was able to count out the rather challenging coordinates of 65 north and 71 east without bothering to get Princess Gwalen, as Mr. Holmes getting slept and wrecked once again by a red dragon.
Not too bad. He accomplished his main goal, which was to get up to the Rainbow Drop Cave and get access to it. So I don't think he's too terribly worried about that. He could honestly just grind on the way down and use his herbs for healing, and potentially even, if Healmore's at 15, we could just see him end on that dive. It'll be curious to see if he does that with 2 excellent grind spots already in play, with an Axe Knight Spike Tile in Hawksness, and Hurt Happy Blue Dragons over in the Swamp Cave.
Well, here is the application of the Rainbow Drop. And, the Green Dragon with Dragon Lord Breath taking WMD out once again. And look at that. First encounter, one step in as a red dragon just to say, hello, Mr. Holmes. Not as easy as you think it's going to be.
And I like this. It does look like Mr. Holmes is going to give a full dive attempt here in order to maintain all of his MP on the way down. Because if he gets Healmore at 15, he already knows he has the stats to beat the game. The only thing he's missing is the Healmore spell. And if he gets it on the way down, that just saves a bunch of time. And the game's over right there if he gets it.
Well, and Z-Man noting in chat that as far behind as WMD was, at least in terms of exploration, he has been keeping pretty good pace in terms of the experience with Mr. Holmes.
Yep, he definitely made very good use of his Hurtmore spell and some of the more unconventional grinds that he's done, but he has managed to maintain the EXP gap pretty well. The major difference here is that there is a lot of ground that he still has to make up. We have Jerk Cave really, really far out in the middle of nowhere. Not to mention, we have to go to the other continent to get the coordinates, walk that major hike all the way to the armor, and then Garenham right there in order to pick up the harp and the sword.
Well, that being said, if Mr. Holmes continues to struggle with these red dragons, there's some time that WMD can make up here.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see after that death if Mr. Holmes opts into one of those spike tile grinds, as you're pretty comfortably assuming at this point that you're not going to die to an Axe Knight or a Blue Dragon unless something goes really horribly wrong or you miss input. So it might just be worth going there. You only need 300, so you can get the level on the way to Sharlock and rest at Breckenary right around the corner there. And should you have to go to 16, might just be better off heading over to one of those grind spots and just setting up a tent and getting the good camp going.
Well, WMD getting up to level 14, and now here is 15, 2, 2, 6, and 15, and still no heal more. So we definitely have to go to 16.
And now we're going to see this come into play. Does he opt into just taking one of those spike tile grinds and getting that real quick 2,250 EXP he needs for 16, as you know that all of your spells will be learned by 16, and your stats are so absolutely over the minimum that you require in order to actually finish the game here, that the second you get level 16, you're good to go. Or he might elect to try to fight on the way down and get 16 on the way down, now that he has a little bit of extra MP to spare. And then being able to just clean up the dive if he succeeds in getting to the bottom.
Ooh, well, WMD slept and wrecked again. Holmes, just making his way to Breckenary, got about 800 experience just knocking out 3 golems using the fairy flute and just swatting away at them. And the fairy flute not taking up as much time because of these speed hacks and fast text. So not as costly of a venture. And now, being up to level 15 and having defense of 86, he is able to damage break enemies like the Star Wyvern and Werewolf.
Yeah, I want to say the only thing he might run into in here from the, middle high tier enemies that are in Sharlock that he doesn't defense break is the Green Dragons. I believe they are the 88 in the Wizard, Werewolf, Green Dragon, Star Wyvern group. Axe Knights requiring 94. We're not going to defense break them without a really hefty gain at level 16 here. And at that point, once again, we're not really too worried about defense breaking. We're just worried about making it all the way down when we get 16, because heal more is the key to the seed right now.
And Mr. Holmes almost instinctively with 20 hit points going to heal more, except it's not in his inventory yet. And here's the Red Dragon, and
slept and wrecked again. Chapter 3 on the Sharlock dive so far.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Red Dragon proving in all kinds of stride why it is known as the Fun Police. Proving in spades as well.
I'm wondering if we maybe see Mr. Holmes start to throw a stop spell at the Red Dragons. They're known for having decently high stop spell resist, but if they're consistently slept and wrecking you over and over, you might be worth throwing the couple MP at it and just try to get away.
Well, some of the resistances are randomized here in the game. Now, in the standard version, the Red Dragon has about a 50-50 chance of resisting it, but I have seen seeds where a particular enemy that usually has 7, I think had 11/16 resistance, or about a little less than 3/4 of the time. And he did attempt a stop spell once, according to Wandering Keeper in chat, and they resisted.
Yeah, and I have to agree with Z-Man here. It's probably 11 of 16, which is the maximum that it can be for the Red Dragons. So you're always looking at a little bit north of a 30% chance of it working, but that's a lot of, semi-coin flips that you could easily just lose over and over again.
Well, we have level 16 on Mr. Holmes' side. The stats 2, 5, 0, and 7, but most importantly, that Heal More spell finally acquired. And we shall see here if this is going to be the go point, but Mr. Holmes trying to run away from... Oh, wow. Trying to run away from the Green Dragon, getting down to 2 hit points, having to burn a Heal More, and now is debating, all right, what do I do from here? Oh, looks like it's apparently continue to navigate Sherlock in the dark. WMD, meanwhile, getting a little bit more exploration on and discovers the Rainbow Drop Cave.
All right, that's very important for him to know. That is one of the furthest away from start locations that he has to find. So that's a large chunk of that missing exploration that he's needed to fill in checked off right there. And for Mr. Holmes, I don't know if burning that Heal More against the Green Dragon there is even going to matter. He's got 13 to 26 on his damage. That's an average of 19.5. Really only needs like 8 attacks to win, and he's got 11 Heal Mores right now. So this should be all but in the books, provided that he can actually make it to Dragon Lord. It seems like the true final boss of this seed is indeed the Fun Police with their sleep-happy behavior.
Well, so far the enemy is not too terrible. Star Wyverns, Werewolves, the Stone Man being problematic, and Z-Man perhaps trying to call it ahead of time, the Red Dragon mini-boss, and no, it's the Golem.
Not too bad at all. You're going to take a couple punches, but you've got Heal Mores to spare. You've got more than enough damage. Barring a missed input or a really, really abysmal Dragon Lord 1 into a back attack, I can't see this not going into Mr. Holmes' favor.
Which we don't have here. We got a double attack. We're up to 30. This is going to go real quick here. Another 21, that's 51. And now 65 after the 14 attack. Another Heal More, another 14. That brings us up to 79. Another Heal More, and we're at 16. That brings us up to 95. Down to 6 Heal Mores left. A nice 20 attack there. We're up to 115. And another 20. 135 and another 17 makes 152. Next attack should do it here. And 23 to cap it off. So Mr. Holmes is going to take it here, but a great effort on WMD's part, keeping pace, but get out your GGs for Mr. Holmes, who is going to win this race with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 58 seconds. So once again, it seems like, at least it was mentioned last night, that a theme so far of these rolled seeds has been the delay in getting Heal More or having heal spells later in the game. And that seems to hold true in this seed, at least in terms of Heal More, as it was held off until the final spell acquirable level of 16.
An interesting note on that, actually, is that through 9 seeds that I've run stats on so far, we have had 3 Heal Mores at level 1 through 4, 3 Heal Mores at level 5 through 8, and then 2 at level 13 to 15, and 1 at level 16. This being actually the first level 16 Heal More that we've had. So the Heal Mores aren't actually as delayed as some people make them out to be. It's more just that we've had some really rough early game seeds, much like this one and Larry's. And with that sound, I believe we are joined by the winner, Mr. Holmes, in chat. Mr. Holmes, congratulations and GG.
Sorry about that. I forgot about the push-to-talk thing. I'm still getting used to that.
More than understandable. Well, a very impressive display. I mean, the first thing that jumps out at me, the counting of the coordinates. It's one of those things where I've seen you do it so many times where it doesn't surprise me, but on the same token, it just still wows me. The fact, I mean, 65 north and 71 east, and you just handled it, you made it look like child's play.
Well, I can see I didn't quite get it on the first try. I ended up confusing myself a little bit. I was walking and I got to a point and I saw just a coastline and I thought, oh, maybe they're actually on the other continent. And then I saw the little path and I'd already kind of walked around in a bit of a circle, so it messed up my numbers, but I was able to backtrack and thankfully I think it was just one off. But whew, that was stressful. So many different ways.
Yeah, definitely a very impressive count. That was quite a long walk through multiple swamps. You didn't have Healmore yet, so you really had to be careful with your resources too to not get sent back to start. As we kind of talked with chat a little bit there, not too many like super notable landmarks along the way until the tail end there when you had that little double land bridge and the two one-tile swamps, but that was still quite a hike away. How did you know that you had accidentally burned your last key in Cantlin when you arrived at Garenham, or did you think you still had one left, and as soon as you saw Garenham, you probably breathed a sigh of relief knowing that that had to have the harp and potentially the sword, since Mountain was guaranteed to be in the back of Garenham as well?
So, yeah, I definitely lost track of my keys. I was doing a good job of keeping track of it during the middle, but I was kind of getting flustered there for a while, and when that happens, sometimes you forget things like that. And of course, it had to be like the longest possible walk to go to Rimalder to get keys. And then I got trolled by red dragons a couple times, which I didn't even know were there, so that kind of added to my frustration.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like the red dragons were the true final boss of this seed, as your stats were pretty much a-okay to kill the Dragon Lord at level 14. You really only needed to actually find the Healmore spell there. But the red dragons proving to be quite a nuisance with that sleep spell.
Yeah, and normally that wouldn't be... Like, yeah, it sucks, but normally it wouldn't be the biggest issue. The thing that made it truly the real Dragon Lord was its resistance to Sop spell. So I did it, I think, 4 times and didn't work once, so either I got really unlucky, or its resistance was very high.
Yeah, Z-Man and I agree that we think that it was probably 11 of 16, which is the cap that red dragons can indeed have. So you're looking at like a 30% chance of actually hitting roughly. So yeah, few semi-coin flips not going in your direction. Pretty much going to burn you out immediately on wanting to try it anymore and just kind of trying to deal with the crappy red dragons and push your way through. Everything else in Sherlock was pretty reasonable.
Yeah, for sure. The Arbor Knights were a little bit annoying, but I kind of just said, I'm just gonna tank through them. And it's funny, I was really worried about the red dragons, and then on my last little dive, I didn't even see any, and then a green dragon of all things almost took me out. I made some really stupid decisions. I should have just heal-moored. Instead, I tried to run at 2 HP, and thankfully it worked. So, out of curiosity, how is WMD doing in this tough, annoying seed?
He looks to be rescuing the princess right now. He has the coordinates, but he is not confident in his counting ability to walk that very long walk. So he's rescuing Gwaylin as we speak.
Yeah, I tried to do that once. that blue dragon guarding the princess was actually pretty tasty. I think it had a very high cast of hurt. Whether it's 50 or 75%, I'm not sure.
It was a little surprised heal more, so WMD backing away and regrouping and going at it again here. For a little while, he was keeping pace with you as far as the experience, but a little bit of an early inexperienced misstep as not using the wings in the throne room to hold on to that key. So he used the magic key to get out normally, and it took a long while, probably at least another 35 to 35 minutes or so to acquire a key at Rimeldar.
Yeah, I guess that obviously is a very costly mistake, but in this seed, I don't think it made a ridiculous difference. Like, it's not like there's any good weapons. It's not like there was a town to really buy stuff, so it wasn't as big of a deal as it could have been.
Yeah, one of the big things I noted regarding that was he was actually right at the edge of the swamp that led down to Rimolder, and I think he got blocked by a green dragon there. And then he had seen Breckenary just above Sharlock and checked the back route first. And we actually thought that maybe he had checked going north on the right side of Sharlock, and it maybe was blocked until we later saw you walk it and that it was clearly open. He had seen that town but not gone up to that either, and he got blocked about one screen away from that as well and sent back to start. And though that kind of happened a couple times with him just getting blocked maybe one screen before hitting Breckenary or Rimolder and just kind of halting his progress a little bit longer. And when he did have the key mistake at the start, there was just an extra 10 or 15 minutes tacked on because he didn't immediately run back. And he poked out like a different direction. And so that kind of halted his progress a little bit longer than it maybe should have.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. What I can say, though, it was really easy to get sent home in so many places. I don't think I want to see a Stoneman again for quite a long time. Those were so infuriating.
Yeah, this seed was quite filled with cod. The bears are eating quite happily tonight.
Yep. Oh man. I definitely am not 100% happy with how I played today. I think there are a lot of little to medium mistakes I made that I should know better, but these tournament races are stressful, man. You really have to focus during them. It's really easy to get nervous and let that take control.
Most certainly, as WMD now utilizing Gwaylen's love and looks to be a little bit southwest of where he needs to be in looking for Erdrick's armor.
And the one thing I'm happy I did is I could have very easily skipped the mountain cave once I got the silver harp, but I decided to take the time and go through it just in case the sword was there, and thankfully it was.
Yeah, that sword pretty much put you from having enough stats to kill the Dragon Lord to having enough stats to slaughter the Dragon Lord, as you easily could have gotten him with the Flame Sword, no problems, but having the extra bonus of the Erdrick Sword, definitely not a bad thing. We were kind of interested in seeing whether you were going to skip Mountain and run the 50-50 gamble on Sharlock Treasury there, or whether you were going to actually complete the dive into the mountain cave since you were already there and take a quick peek there. I definitely think that your play was 100% correct there, as you were already in a pretty good stat situation anyhow. so the dive was going to be pretty quick no matter what. And it proved really fruitful too, as there were really good enemies in that mountain cave for you to prey on before just taking a quick warp back to the castle.
Yeah, like 8 different stone men. Something like that. Maybe some wizards, Axe Knight, all that good stuff.
I didn't see the Stoneman in Mountain Cave. I saw you chew up a couple AK-47s and a couple Star Wyverns on your way down.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. But what I can say helped my decision to go in the Mountain Cave was in the little bits of practice I'd been doing, trying to get used to speed hacks again. I got screwed over a couple times just by not searching a single treasure chest where it would have a key item. Like, say the tablet cave was near the start and I didn't explore it because I didn't have a torch or radiant. And then I just kind of forgot about it, and sure enough, Erdrick's sword is in it. So I was like, nope, you are not skipping these chests.
And here we have WMD with the armor picked up, making his run through Garanam, grabbing that harp, now in the mountain cave, looking to explore it, so he will very shortly, barring an unfortunate send back to start, will find himself the sword. Actually missing that first chest there. Thankfully, that one's not going to cost him, as I believe the first chest was only like an herb or gold, so nothing too terribly critical.
What level is he at right now?
He's actually at 15. He kept EXP with you remarkably well. It's just some of his early game catch-ups got him a good chunk behind. When you were finishing the game, he still needed the Jerk Cave, which, as we know, was quite a hike away from the start. He hadn't gone to the second continent to get the coordinates yet, and therefore hadn't gotten Gwaelin or made the walk to the armor and Garanham. But along the entire seed, he kept EXP with you remarkably well.
Yeah, that's awesome, and not entirely surprising. He knows Dragon Warrior pretty well. He's part of the sub-6 club for vanilla, no manipulation. But anyway, do you guys have any other questions?
No, I think that Azrael pretty much covered everything. At least as far as I'm looking here. I mean, I'm just kind of skimming over all the stats and everything here, and yeah, it looks like the turning point. I mean, it was pretty from levels 5 through 8. It looks like it was pretty even back and forth as far as who acquired which levels when, but it was actually even all the way up to 10 and 11. It looks like he had gotten to 11 about a minute and a half after you did, but it was that level 12 and beyond that you really started to pull away, it looks like here.
I wonder if part of that was due to being able to do a gold grind.
Possibly, as it looks as though WMD has not executed a gold grind and has the large shield as we speak here.
Okay.
But he does have Erdrick's sword.
Yeah, you can definitely get through with the large shield. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, as we just saw from Mr. Holmes' run, all he needs is 16. Get that Heal More spell, and Dragon Lord is definitely more than on the table at this point.
Yeah, it's nice in seeds like this where you have Heal Mores to burn. Low agility seeds are pretty much the worst because there's lots of RNG involved. And being able to have the luxury of tanking through enemies and using heal mores makes the variance a lot lower. So I definitely appreciated that aspect of things.
We're seeing WMD get a little bit of Mr. Holmes love here on his walk at level 15 up towards Sharlock, hitting 4 consecutive golems, and that's exactly what we saw you taking on your way up to Breckenary before your final dive. Just punching those buckets of EXP thanks to the Fairy Flute and your more than relevant attack power. Alas, I did forget he still is requiring his last 2 tasks, being the staff and the rainbow drop, before finishing. So he'll definitely have level 16 by the time he gets rainbow drop, and will easily just be able to rush the Dragon Lord down at that point. As he's killed 5 straight golems now?
Yeah, they're definitely a treasure trove of experience, that's for sure. But that being said, I think I'm going to hop into the Randomania chat and I'll cheer WMD on, and I'll be hanging around for the next race.
Speaking of which, yes, we're going to be we're just going over the programming notes here as what we're going to be doing in a matter of moments here. I believe we're going to actually stick with this here. I thought we were going to throw a temporary raid over to WMD to get things prepared for the next race, as we are about 10 minutes away from the second of our triple header right here on Randomania, and that is going to be another noted matchup as the up-and-coming Tilo Tilo will be taking on the third-ranked Nest Cardinality. So that's coming up right here on Randomania, and then coming up over on Randomania 2 in a little over an hour from now, it's going to be Silverfire against Katen 619, and I believe Z-Man and I will be bringing you the call for that, as Up to MG will be here on Randomania in a few moments to get things rolling for that. So, and the 2000 noting in chat here, the 9 p.m. race will be slightly delayed, so I believe we are sticking with this through the duration, as things are looking pretty close here for WMD to get the finish now at level 16.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for doing the commentary. Thanks, Wolfman, for tracking, and I think Yanni was restreaming, if I got that wrong. I apologize.
Wolfman was doing both the tracking and restreaming. Yoniman's going to be doing the restream of the upcoming race, but a little bit of commentary overlap as we're here in the Randomania 1 Discord network chat here. So a little bit of crossover going on here as we're going to try to make things work with the conclusion of this race leading into the beginning of the next race coming up in roughly 10 minutes from now.
All right. Well, thanks again, and best of luck in your races.
I need it certainly commentating all of these. Thank you so much, Mr. Holmes, and once again, congratulations and GG. You're now 1-0 and well on your way to, with things going your way, to get to the Swiss round. Going through these Swiss rounds to get to the bracket stage, I should say.
Yep, a lot of work still to do, though. Thanks, and have a good one.
Thank you. So Mr. Holmes making his way along here with the victory, as WMD looking to finish things up, having stayed at the inn at Breckenary. And is going to head right on around and apparently encounter an enemy every step here. And Ryu Station noting in chat that this means that he could possibly face Mr. Holmes next week. As how these Swiss style races work here is WMD making his way down through Charlotte Castle. The way Swiss style works, for those unfamiliar, is that after the first round, where it's kind of an open seating. I mean, there are some pairings that are more favorable than others, but those who go 1-0 will face one another in the second round, and those who go 0-1 will face one another in the second round. And that will continue over the course of the 5 rounds. So those who are in round 3, those who are 2-0 will face off against one another. Those who are 1-1 and those who are 0-2 will square off, etc., all the way through the 5 Swiss rounds. And then once we've completed 5 rounds, those who have 3 or more wins will automatically qualify for the bracket stage. And those who are 2 and 3, well, they will have a last chance play-in to be able to make the field of 24. And those who have a 4-1 record or better will automatically have a bye into the second round of that bracket stage. Now, once things get to the semifinals, once we're down to the final four, those semifinal matches as well as the championship match will be a best 2 out of 3. As WMD now on the second basement of Sherlock, having to use another herb, trying to hold on to as many of the MP as possible here. And I've been informed that, at least for the moment here, I'll be running things solo. Azrael taking a little bit of a refresher as he is going to be joining up to NG, doing commentary for the upcoming race here on Randomania. That will be Nest Cardinality taking on Tilo Tilo. We're just moments away from that. We'll pause at the conclusion of this here once WMD makes the completion, and then we'll take a pause to prep for the next race and come right back on to you here. And don't forget later tonight, I should say, just a little over an hour from now, over on Randomania 2, it's going to be Silverfire against Caton 619. And then the action, well, it just keeps on going, as tomorrow morning it'll be the rematch, hopefully with fewer technical issues. The Good Friends, Better Enemies rematch between Z-Man 050778 and Sparkover. And then tomorrow night, oh man, do we have some goodies. We have a trifecta in the nightcap, as at 8 o'clock Eastern, it's going to be Dataplet against JJ Schmidt 77. At 9 o'clock, it'll be Lavkian against Synth Pop is Back. And at 11 p.m., it'll be, McGrew against Bent Glass Tube. So now quickly down to the final basement of Sherlock goes WMD.
Looking to not get too many red dragons so far, so that's good.
Yeah, a lot of rocks, though. A lot of golems, a lot of stone men. And now here's the Guardian Golem. And the Fairy Flute going to make things considerably easier. And quickly three-shotting the Golem, and WMD on his way to the Dragon Lord.
WMD giving that Golem a little taste of the slept-in wreck that we saw our runners suffer quite frequently at the hands of a couple enemies in this seed.
Most notably the Red Dragon, although the Dragon Lord certainly had its share of contributions, and early on those skeletons were pretty mean as well. So now quickly on to Dragon Lord 2, already attacking for 21 and a double attack, so it's now 17, we're up to 38. And another 20.
And as we covered in the fight with MisterHomes, barring a misinput, the stats are more than capable of finishing this fight.
Already up to 111, and another 23, that is 134. 153, and I believe this should be the last one here unless I blinked and missed something, and nope, that is going to do it. So WMD going to finish up here in a sub 90 minutes.
With 6 heal mores to spare.
So for only having run a few races, still very impressive. Get out your GGs for WMD, who is going to finish with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 45 seconds. But I believe due to time constraints, we're going to hold off on a post-race interview for WMD 88, as we are going to take a brief pause here on Randomania and step aside to prepare for the next race, which is just moments away, as we will have Tilo Tilo against Nest Cardinality right here on Randomania. I want to thank Wolfman2000 for doing the restreaming and tracking, and Azrael Ravenheart, fantastic job. We'll give your voice a little bit of a rest here. as, you'll be coming back here to work with Up to NG to provide the call of that match, and I'm going to take an hour respite before I'm back over on Randomania 2 to bring you the Silverfire and Caton 619 match. So for Wolfman 2000, for our runners WMD 88 and Mr. Holmes, for my co-commentator Azriel Ravenheart, I'm Ferran Burgundy saying, until next time, may your moves be excellent and your seeds stay classy. Stick with us as we are just moments away from our next race, Tilo against Next Cardinality here on Randomania Next. Stay tuned.